أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فجاءت إحداهما تمشي على استحياء قالت إن أبي يدعوك ليجزيك أجر ما سقيت لنا فلما جاءه وقص عليه القصص قال لا تخف نجوت من القوم الظالمين أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Salam everybody. Good to see you guys. Lately I feel like every Tanzeel is like a month apart, subhanAllah. I don't know what it is. It just feels so far apart. So good to see you guys. It's been so long. What's that?
More frequent.
What?
More frequent.
Maybe. I don't know, man. Maybe soon. All right, so bismillah. We have until 10:15. Is it? When do they call adhan? Does anyone know?
10:15 to 10:15.
But adhan is at 10:09.
Yeah.
Okay, so that gives us what, an hour and some change. Here's what I really want to do, because I want today to be a lot more discussion, and I want to be for real about that this time. So what I want to do is maybe do no more than 45 minutes or 50 minutes of me talking, and the rest of us kind of going back and forth. That's my idea. So can someone like shut me up a little bit at, let's say 9:40? Is that, yeah, 9:40? I'm asking your permission. I don't care what you think. 9:40, yeah? 9:40, cool. 9:40 inshallah. So someone just keep me on seat if you don't mind. You can give me signals and stuff. All right, so bismillah. So we are ending, what are we doing? Musa alayhi salam. We're ending the first major scene of his story. Remember I told you guys way back in the day, do I still have the slide for it? I must still have the slide, I must. This one. You remember this? Who's here when we did this? So Musa's story, alayhi salam, you could say it's kind of dissected into these really big episodes. It's all over the book. It's in Nazi'at, it's in Taha a little bit, or Taha Allah, it's in Baqarah a little bit. It's all over the place, yeah? But you can say the major kind of like, events of his life, you can bucket it into these three, and I added a fourth. Okay, so Taha, Shu'ara, and Qasas. Which one are we doing right now? We've been doing for a couple of weeks now. It's Qasas. It's like the early years, right? So everything from birth all the way to him getting married, which we're doing today. We're doing the marriage story today. And then there's kind of like a little bit of a break, and then Taha picks up when he's married, he works for 8 to 10 years, leaves town to go move somewhere else, and then he gets called to the mountain. This is when he gets revelation. Then later on, when he faces the Pharaoh, a lot of that is in Shu'ara. So you can see like Allah giving kind of like episodic moments. Like the way that he's breaking up the story is almost like seasons of a show in modern language, right? What I'm going to do today is finish Qasas, no matter what. Today we're finishing Qasas because we're spending too long on it. Next time we meet, inshallah, we're doing not Taha or Shu'ara, we're doing Ghafir. Ghafir is a really cool, I gave the weird example of like Better Call Saul to Breaking Bad. You know that relationship? Like the movie is like, or whatever, a show follows like one main character and then someone does a spin-off. Ghafir is kind of a spin-off. We're going to spend all next time on just Ghafir. Because there's a dude in Ghafir that's extremely relevant to what we talked about. I won't spoil it. Very relevant to what we did in Qasas. And then there's other really amazing things. I cannot wait for Ghafir. So just please show up. That's going to be a fun day, inshallah, yeah? But today, no fun. Qasas. All right, so Qasas today. I want to finish up the page where we left off on last time. Musa alayhi salam, he showed up to a place called Madian. Madian, as I'll review in a little bit later, is an Arab city in the desert off of Egypt. Somewhere away from Egypt, there's an Arab little village called Madian. And he reaches Madian, okay? I don't think I have time for those khalas. So he reaches Madian. He sees a bunch of men feeding their flock at the river, and he sees min dunihima, so far away from these bunch of men, he sees two women. Who was here last time? It's okay, I'll review a little bit then. Musa salam, he reaches, he's homeless, he has got no job, he's got nowhere to live, he is a fugitive from the law even, because there was a kill order on him from the government that he grew up in, basically. He was, I would argue, sold out by his own people. And he left that city, and he moved to a new one. And while at the new one, before he even takes rest, he sees two girls having this tug of war with their sheep, if you guys remember. And he walked up to those two girls, and we're learning a little bit when he's walking up to these two girls, because it's like a young man walking up to young women in public. So the way you do in college, for example. So we're learning, like Allah is teaching us, this is how you're supposed to, these are the attitudes you're supposed to have. The one thing we're also learning is men and women are going to talk to each other. right? Because Quran validates it. So it's going to happen, number one. Number two, there's guidelines on how that's said. For Musa alayhi salam, the guideline we learned is focus. مَا خَطْبُكُمْ, what's wrong with you two? He was very direct. Maybe even semi-rude, but direct, focus, like he's trying to solve a problem. The girls, in response, what they're learning is they were not giggly, but they were not like, at this point, sort of super shy either. But who remembers what they said? Who remembers anything they said?
Our fathers in a
Yeah. They said, we can't feed our sheep until those men down there are done with theirs. And they ended, وَأَبُونَا شَيْخٌ كَبِيرٌ. Just to say وَأَبُونَا شَيْخٌ, it would mean, and our dad's an old man. Meaning, our dad can't tend to the flock, so we have to do it. We're the only kids in the family, so we have to go take care of it. Okay? Which is a little subtle hint of like, Allah honoring that there are times where women enter the workforce. Right? That they have to even, that they have no choice. There's plenty of times across history where it was just kind of the traditional way of doing things, where the man goes out and he earns and the woman stays at home, and that's fine. The Sahaba, does anyone know where the Sahaba kind of lean with that? Like the people, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, where did they lean with it? Anyone know? They were a mix. So there are people among them that both the man and the woman worked, and there are people among the Sahaba, some of them were only the man worked, the woman stayed at home. Meaning there's an openness to this, is my point. Because that's always a conversation with marriage, I think, is like, who's going to stay at home, who's going to work, whatever. Allah seems to be, Allahu Alam, giving a little bit of an opening to how that could look like. Because in this scenario, the girls are going out to work, the dad's staying at home. Does that make sense what I'm getting at? Okay. But they added something, وَأَبُونَا شَيْخٌ كَبِيرٌ. And our dad's a kabir old man. Kabir, I learned about the word literally before I got here. Kabir is like someone with social power. Like the tribe chief, or like the person in the family that everyone listens to. Almost like a cult. That's a kabir. A kabir is someone everyone listens to. They have a lot of clout. Meaning they did not have to add, they don't have to add in our dad's a big deal. But they're a little bit like, this is a strange man walking up to them, and they're kind of putting a barrier between them and him. Does that make sense? وَأَبُونَا شَيْخٌ كَبِيرٌ, and our dad's a big deal, back off. That kind of attitude. But this is, by the way, a lesson for this side of the room. One thing we're going to get into a little bit today, we're going to be a little bit more, I'm going to be kind of straightforward today, so forgive me, but one thing that this side of the room doesn't know a lot about that side of the room, and they're laughing already, is, and you can Google, I'm not going to give you a number, you can Google this on your own, on your free time. Man, how do I say this in a way that, are there any kids in the audience? No? We're good, right? Alina's not here? Okay, cool. This side of the room, there's studies on this, this side of the room literally thinks of intercourse, I'll put it mildly. I want to say, does anyone know the number? It's at least 50, on average, studies show. Dozens of times. I'll be safe and say dozens of times. Like the way that Allah kind of wired this hardware, the male body, you can say, physiology, is to almost always be thinking about this, essentially, is the idea. These girls are extremely smart. They're really smart girls. Because, and keep in mind, by the way, the place that they live, you would imagine, I mentioned this last time, but I'll mention it again. You would imagine if a bunch of men are feeding their sheep in a river and they see two young ladies struggling with their sheep up the hill, that any one of those men could easily do what? Go up and help them. A sign that they're not, because they can see them as clearly as Musa can see them. It's not like they're blind. The fact that they're not helping them indicates that they're probably, it's a society of bad men, of rude men, perverted men even, you can venture to, I guess, to say potentially. The way I was taught, they were perverted men. Allahu Alam. At the end of the day, they're at least not useful. They're at least not kind. At least we can say. At most we can say a lot more. At least we can say they're not kind men to women. Because a kind man would do what? Go and help. That's what a good man would do. We know الرجال قوامون على النساء, men are caretakers of women. Of all women also. We're going to do that in a little bit too, inshallah. But the idea is they're in like a hostile environment where they know men. They at least know the men in their community. So when a strange man walks up to them, they're not going to be all like, hee hee hee. Like, no. وَأَبُونَا شَيْخٌ كَبِيرٌ. And our dad's a big deal. Don't mess with us. Like they're very straight to the point. No, assalamu alaikum, how are you? Nothing. He was tough. By the way, he was focused. They also remained what? Focused. It's a lesson for us, well, the way that we interact with each other. Shaitan, guys, I know you guys probably heard this 1,000 times. Shaitan plays games. Like one thing that the Prophet warned us about is something called, I think, khalwa or khulwa, I forgot the exact word. But the idea is when a man and a woman are alone in the same space, or you can, in modern times, they're alone even in the same virtual space, like alone on the phone, or alone in a chat group, or alone texting, or whatever the case may be. The Prophet warned that when they're alone, Shaitan is the third. Yeah? These young women are so aware of the men in their community that they speak tough. They're smart. And I'm going to add something I also added last time. This surah is full of really smart women. You had the mother of Musa, you had Musa's stepmom, and now you have these two girls. And the way we're not even done with the way they speak, by the way. They're really intelligent young ladies. But right now we're learning that they do not get overwhelmed when men come up to them. Right? They don't take it as a compliment that he talked to me. No. These young women do not think like that. They think, who the heck are you? Back off. That's how they think. They demand respect. You know something, I was going to say for a little bit later, but I want to actually tell you what now. Let's check this out. I'm learning about Ahzab, so I can't help but check this out. Ya ayyuhan nabi. This is in Ahzab. Different surah entirely. I just learned this and I'm thinking about it, so I want to share what I learned a little bit, okay? This is the ayah about not what we call hijab. This is the ayah about jilbab, so dressing the body, not necessarily the head. That about khimar, dressing the head, is in Surah An-Nur. This is Ahzab, it's a little bit different. Well, okay. Ya ayyuhan nabi. Prophet, listen up. قُلْ لِأَزْوَاجِكَ. Tell your wives, وَبَنَاتِكَ, and your daughters, وَنِسَاءِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and the women of the believers. I want you to pay attention to that wording, by the way. The women of the believers. He could have just said وَنِسَاءِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. That's sifa, mawsuf sifa. And believing women. He could have said that, right? Or وَأَنِّسَاءِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. The students here, mawsuf sifa. The believing women. But he used an idafa. The women of the believers. Almost like I'm going to use the word ownership for now. Just relax, but I'm going to use almost a word of ownership is happening here. Okay, I'll get back to that in a minute. Yudnina alayhinda min jalabibihinna. They should cover themselves with their cloaks. A jilbab is like a cloak, like a dress. They should cover their, meaning they should hide their form. We're not talking about this today. They should hide their form, their beauty, with their cloaks, is what's being talked about here. ذَلِكَ أَدْنَا أَن يُعْرَفْنَا. I love this. That is so it's more likely that they're known. Interesting language. That will help them to be known, is kind of what Allah is saying here. Them covering their bodies is so that they're more likely to actually be known. Urf, to be known. فَلَا يُؤْذَيْنَ, and so they won't be harmed. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا, and Allah was always forgiving and merciful. Two things I want to highlight here. Number one, أَدْنَا أَن يُعْرَفْنَا. This is really interesting. There's a bunch of comments on this. I want to share with you one that I learned. Okay, someday we're going to go over this stuff in a lot. Like we'll do khimar and jilbab stuff. The men and women stuff I want to do a little bit later, inshallah. It was so relevant to this. Like these women are living this ayah. ذَلِكَ أَدْنَا أَن يُعْرَفْنَا is happening right. That's so that they're known is happening in this story that I'm telling you right now. What does that mean, so that they're known? You can think of it like this. Nowadays, women, especially in our country, but honestly, well, in every country in the world, we're saying as if it's just an American problem. It's an everywhere problem. It's in Egypt, it's in Palestine, it's in Morocco, it's everywhere. Women are only known, almost exclusively known by what? How are they known? When a man comes up to you and talks to you, what's the first thing he notices? Your appearance. Right or wrong? Some of you are maybe more aware of this than others, but that's what's happening. Men, because again, this kind of like when men that don't control themselves, at least, not men, alhamdulillah, in this room, but men that don't control themselves, when they talk to a woman, or they text a woman, or they even learn from a woman, or whatever relationship they have with a woman that they're not related to, they essentially reduce them to how they look. Yes or no? Is a woman actually known if she's reduced to her physical appearance? That is better, so that they're known. You understand? These women are known. They are to be respected by their qualifications, by their intelligence, by their morality, by their spirituality. They are not going to be reduced to what the perverts by the lake are reducing them to. ذَلِكَ أَدْنَا أَن يُعْرَفْنَا. Very different than how we're taught, by the way. Because when we're taught, like in Sunday school, the reason why we wear hijab is so you're not, gawked at. The Quran doesn't say that. The Quran says so that you're known. This is so that you're putting a barrier between what a man, and by the way, in the same surah, Allah talks about men who have a disease in their hearts, that if you speak too softly or too sweetly, that disease in their hearts might make them have certain thoughts. Does that make sense? I don't want to spell that out. I think, I said enough. Yeah, does that make sense? But I couldn't help but share this because and by the way, for this side of the room, listen to this. I didn't talk about this Nisa al-Mu'mineen business. The women of the believers. Why did Allah not just say, and tell the believing women? He said, and the women of the believers. You know what that means? That means them doing what they do and wearing what they wear, that they wear the khimar, that they wear the jilbab, that they cover themselves, actually marks them as part of, I'm going to use the word tribe, marks them as part of the believing tribe. And when Allah says that they're now Nisa al-Mu'mineen, they are Nisa with the qualification of they're part of a group called the believers. You know what that means? That means that it's your responsibility, whether you're related to her or not related to her, she's part of your women, essentially. It's your job to protect any woman. I'll give you a story about this. This is not to praise myself by any means, but I just to connect this all together a little bit. Listen to this. I was at Pete's. I think it was at Pete's, okay? And there's this lady. She must have been in her 30s or 40s. She had a daughter with her, okay? And the daughter, she said something out loud. She was like a teenager probably, I think, okay? And then there were these three guys by the tomatoes. I don't know where they were, but they were next to them. And these men were looking, and they made a comment. She said something in Arabic. I forgot, the teenager, something in Arabic. And then the guy made fun of her. It was like Allahu Akbar or something. She said something, okay? So you know what I did? I didn't really say anything. I looked at the guy, and people that I teach that I can be whatever. So I look at him, and I give him a stern look. And these men, you know how they're cowards. Men that do this to women that with no men around them are cowards essentially, because you would not dare do that if they're with their husband or with their brother, right? These men would never do that. So I give him a look, and I shake my head, and he Nisa al-Mu'mineen. Does that make sense? Do I know that woman? Did I go after that guy walked away and go, sister, I'm so sorry. You deserve so much better. Did I do that? No. Nisa al-Mu'mineen. Make sense? This is this is a commandment that is actually not just for women. It's actually a whistle for you guys that these are women of your nation. You're supposed to protect them as well. I said before, الرِّجَالُ قَوَّامُونَ عَلَى النِّسَاءِ. Men are protectors over women, not just nisa'ihim, not just their mothers and their wives and their daughters, over all women. You see a woman that needs help, you protect. That's your role. That's what Allah calls you. Okay, so anyway, just wanted to call that out. So these women, very intelligent, protected themselves. Musa a.s. takes the sheep, goes and feeds them or whatever, and gives them back. These women go home early. When they get home earlier than expected, their dad, we can imagine, this is not happening in the surah, but you can kind of use your imagination here. They get home early, and the dad is wondering how are you home so early? And they're probably oh, well, there was this tree-looking dude, and he said, what's wrong with you? And he took our sheep, and he just watered them, and he brought them back. He's he didn't talk to you? No. He didn't laugh? No. Okay, go bring him. I want to pay him. So he actually sends one of the father that they were talking about, sends one of the two daughters to go get Musa a.s. Another theme of this story, by the way. This is the second time in the story where a parent sends their daughter out in the public on their own in a hostile environment. When was the first time? Who remembers? Yeah, Musa's sister. And that was even more hostile because what is she up against? A genocidal regime of Fir'aun, essentially, right? So she goes and it's wicked smart, we won't go over that again, but very intelligently plants an idea in their head to bring Musa back to his mom, right? In this case, older woman, different hostile environment, but the same theme applies. Where you have this father sending his daughter out in public on her own because he trusts her. Which is, wallah, compare that to how we think, honestly. I mean, I don't mean to spell it out, especially Arab in the room. How do we think about this? Ustaz Noman calls this the new way of burying our daughters alive. You know how Mecca used to do that? That was a cultural practice of theirs, is you bury your daughters alive. I told this to my class the other day. One thing they would literally do, like the extra proud men of Mecca, what they would do back in the day, at times of Jahiliyyah, we have our own now, but anyway, in old Jahiliyyah, they would literally have their wife, they would dig a grave and then have their wife give birth next to the grave, so that if it was a daughter, it would be less of an emotional connection. Right? Because if she goes home and then you might feel for her and you might change your mind. Plenty of Sahaba were like, I was about to and I changed my mind. Plenty did not. Plenty did. So at the risk of astaghfirullah changing their mind, in their mind, they would check, they would throw it in, the wife would cry a little bit, cry over the grave, and they'd go home. Nowadays we don't do it to that extent, but we bury our daughters alive, and we came up with many creative ways of doing this nowadays, I think. One is you can keep them home and lock away the key. Right? No opportunities, no education. Even, you might think this is a problem just in like countries overseas, but there are stories here too in America. Very easy. You know the easiest way to bury a girl alive, by the way? Easiest way is to put her in a marriage she doesn't want to be in. Easiest way to bury her alive. Especially for Arab. Because in Arab communities, how do we see divorce? Shame. Huge shame. You're going to get divorced? What's Ammati going to say? What's your cousin going to say? We're going to try to get your other sister married and they're going to know that you divorced. What are they going to think about her? That's how we think. Does Quran think this way? No. I'll just jump the gun and say, Quran, I'm learning through Ahzab a lot, Quran makes marriage and divorce both extremely, extremely easy, and I'll use my word, fluid. The Sahaba would drop in and out of marriages like you don't even know. So easily. Did they shame each other? No. But when you put yourself above the law of Allah, and you made divorce extremely difficult, and then you force a girl into a marriage, so she was forced in and she can't leave, then what's left of her exactly? Where's her autonomy? You've buried her alive. Socially, you're not using turab, you're using society, but you've buried her alive. You know, there are surahs of Quran, talaq actually, literally the surah of divorce. You know what Allah, He actually talks about divorce and then He interrupts Himself, and then He talks about divorce again. You know what He talks about when He interrupts Himself? He talks about Allah destroying nations. Now, why would He talk about divorce and then talk about destroying nations and talk about divorce again? Because one of the hardest laws to follow, the laws of Allah, is guess what? Divorce. And Allah's giving us the example of people that passed before us that claimed belief, but when it came to when it was difficult, they didn't follow the law. Just like us, by the way, to be quite honest with you. Just like us, wallah. There's no difference between us and the stories that Allah gives us. We make fun of the Jews all the time for doing this. Wallah, we do it just as much as they do. Wallahi, we do. So He gives the example of talaq, how to properly divorce a woman. Then He says, and by the way, there were plenty of nations just like you that came before that did not take my law seriously, and here's what I did to them. And then He reiterates the law again. And when you step away from the law of Allah, someone gets harmed, period. Someone necessarily gets harmed. And in marriage, guess who gets harmed 9 times out of 10? Women. 7 times out of 10. Most of the time. Because you guys there's grievances at the side too, wallah, believe me, I know. But most of the time, who's the easy target is women. Most of the time. Anyway, this girl, she's trusted to go outside. I probably killed my time. I did. Okay. This girl's trusted to go outside. She goes by herself to go to Musa alayhi salam. What was the purpose of her going back by who remembers? I briefly mentioned it. To pay him. To get him paid. I love that you girls raise your hand. I appreciate you all. It's okay to shout it out. To give him payment. Listen to how she says. فَجَاءَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا. This is what Allah says. So one of them, meaning you could say fa sababiyya here, because Musa said he helps some water, he goes back to the tree. I gave you that beautiful dua that he gave last Tanzeel. رَبِّي إِنِّي لِمَا أَنزَلْتَ إِلَيَّ مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَقِيرٌ. My master, my back is broken, I'm bankrupt, whatever good you might have for me, I could really use it right now. And he's just chilling under the shade. And then Allah says فَجَاءَتْ. That fact, you know what it could mean? One meaning is just then the next thing that happened immediately. Another thing that could be, if it's sababiyya potentially here, because he made that dua, this girl came. You know why that's relevant? This girl came, and then after she comes, he gets paid, and he gets married, and he gets a job, and he has children. So it could be that because of that dua, this is why I was so pushing that dua on you last time I talked to you, is because he made that dua, like, Ya Allah, my bad, I could use whatever good you have for me. Faja'at, because of that moment, that of weakness he had with Allah, then a girl came, and he had everything he could need. He went from homeless to married, sheltered, employed, wealthy, educated, respected. You know, subhanallah. Anyway, فَجَاءَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا, then one of them came. تَمْشِي عَلَى اسْتِحْيَاء, Allah adds this time. She walked عَلى اسْتِحْيَاء, shyly to him. عَلى اسْتِحْيَاء. Shyness, by the way, because I think our religion, 100%, the way that we think of men and women got hijacked completely. Our thinking got hijacked, and therefore our religion got hijacked. We're told that shyness, and it's true to some extent sometimes, the word shyness in English at least, can be used for someone that's weak, right? Like if you think of a shy girl, you think of like a little girl, you think of a weak girl. When Allah talks about istihyat, it's not talking about like rosy cheeks and looking down, and that's not istihyat. Istihyat is to be aware of your shame, to put it mildly. That's what istihyat is. It's taught to both sides of the room. And the idea behind Allah teaching us shame, or istihya, or to be like shy, I'll use the word shyness here, to have haya, actually I'll use Allah's words instead. To have haya is not to act giggly and look down, and haya is to be aware of your shame. That's what haya is, for men and for women. So she, this time, before, by the way, there was this huge bout of confidence. وَأَبُونَا شَيْخٌ كَبِيرٌ. This time she's really ala istihya. She's acting shyly. And listen to how she talks this time. قالت إن أبي. This is so strange. Every time this girl opens her mouth, it's amazing. Listen to this. إن أبي يدعوك. No doubt about it, my dad's calling you. She could have just said أبي يدعوك. That would have been the same thing. My dad is calling you. Okay? But she's saying إن أبي يدعوك. I'm telling you, it's my dad calling you. It's not anything to do with me. It's not my idea. It's his idea. So this is, by the way, a lesson in hayat. You're aware of what other people might not necessarily think of you. You're aware of diseases that might be in other people's heart. I don't like the idea of worrying what other people think of you. I do like the idea, I think Quran approves of this idea, being aware of how other people might cause you pain through rumors though. Or especially for this side of the room, men with diseases in their heart, or women, because it happens too in Yusuf alayhi salam's story, for example. Women with diseases in their heart, being aware enough that you don't fall for their little tricks. By the way, nifaq in our religion, right? Hypocrisy, which is like the worst group you can be a part of. May Allah protect us from being of that group. Like the worst pits of hell. You know, in Ahzab, Allah calls out one of the diseases in their hearts is actually perversion, sexual perversion. It's a big sign of hypocrisy, actually, sexual perversion. That you look at a woman and ideas come in your head. That you look at a man and an idea comes in your head. But honestly, mostly men. Even Quran kind of highlights more this than both. Don't get me wrong, but mostly this side of the room Allah highlights, right? But the idea of haya is you're aware that people are out there like that. You're aware of it. You're not ignorant. Like you know how men are. You know how women are sometimes, and you act accordingly. You act in a way that demands respect. That's istihya. And look how she says, Inna abi. It's my dad calling you, not me. That's a strong girl. She's not even allowing a thought. It's like airtight. There's nowhere in the language that anyone can misconstrue what she's intending right now. Do you know what I mean? My dad is calling you. But, listen to this part. My dad is calling you, لِيَجَزِيَكَ أَجْرَ مَا سَقَيْتَ لَنَا. So my dad can pay you with a payment because of how you fed our sheep. She could have just said, لِيَجَزِيَكَ مَا سَقَيْتَ لَنَا. That would have made total sense. To pay you because of how you helped us out. But she said the word payment twice, which might indicate she was still a little bit like nervous. My dad wants to pay you with a payment because of how you helped us. Could Allahu Alam mean that she liked him a little bit, potentially? You know what Allah is kind of hinting at here is that slip-ups are going to happen too, potentially, Allahu Alam. It could be an indicator of that too. That sometimes it's just like shyness comes through and you slip up a little bit, nervousness comes through too, and like talking to the opposite gender and stuff like that. But in no way takes away from her honor in the surah though, subhanAllah. لِيَجْزِيَكَ أَجْرَ مَا سَقَيْتَ لَنَا. And think about this now. Musa alayhi salam just made this heavy dua, like, Ya Allah, I'm in need, right? This girl comes and says, my dad's trying to pay you because of how you volunteered. You know, anyone like nowadays, what they would do is, no, sister, like that was for the sake of Allah. Like I don't need you to pay me. That was all for him. You know what Musa says? فَجَاءَهُ. He immediately got up. Let's go. And ja, by the way, is to go in a hurry. Like atabi, he is to go and like you're just going. That's like the normal word for go. It's ata. Ja is like you go and like you're in a hurry. So he's like, yeah, 100%, let's go. I just made the dua and this is perfect. You know what this means, by the way? You make like, Musa just made dua. It's like, you shouldn't expect a sandwich to fall from the sky. Or like a job contract to fall from the sky. And like here, this is Allah. Allah answers your dua through other people. That's how it works. Like, we have a lot of pride, especially I think in Arab culture, that we're in a time of need and someone offers help and we're like, no. I'm like, you're probably gonna use it against me later if you help me. By the way, this is his soon-to-be in-law about to help him. Like, you know the shame that we give other people who take help from their in-laws? Allah sometimes, just the way He tells a story, like He talks, dismantles all this, the garbage of our culture sometimes. Just throws it away, subhanAllah. You know? So he goes in a hurry. فَلَمَّا جَاءَهُ وَقَصَّ عَلَيْهِ الْقَصَص. And he didn't just go to him, he told him everything. I was a baby and I was meant to be killed, and my mom threw me in a river, and then I was raised in the palace of the Pharaoh, and then this guy, oh my God, this guy, I hate him so much. He used this thing against me, and now I'm homeless and I killed a guy. قَصَّ عَلَيْهِ الْقَصَص means he tells him everything. So he's open, you know what I mean? So this guy now learned that this strange man in his home, helped his girls out, but is also a fugitive from the law, is homeless, and is exiled from his country. That's what you know about this guy right now. What would we do if we found that out about people? Yeah, get the riffraff out of my house. And wallah, forget this. If someone does a petty crime and we find out, what do we do with them? We don't associate with that family. Yeah, we don't marry from that family because they have a brother's cousin twice removed that stubbed his toe and said a bad word, and we don't associate with them. This is a lesson in giving people chances a little bit, right? Because honestly, guys, do the comparison, wallah, between when you're having the story in your head compared to how we act and how we behave, wallah. So let me continue on. وَقَصَّ عَلَيْهِ الْقَصَص قَالَ لَا تَخَفْ. He said, do not be afraid. نَجَوْتَ مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. You are now safe from the wrongdoing people. Okay, now listen to this. One of these girls, you can imagine she's listening in the kitchen or something in another room, listening to the entire story. Okay? قَالَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا. One of the two girls said, Ya abati. There's so much to unpack here. Wallah, please listen. You guys ready? There's so much. I'm telling you, every time these girls open their mouths, there's something brilliant happening, wallah. So listen closely, okay? When they talk, listen. قالت إحداهما. One of the two girls said, Ya abati. Let me start with Ya abati first. It's literally like three things just right away, right after about Ya abati. The first thing is you can say the dad was, because Ya is used, Ya munada. You guys know Ya munada, right? We talked about it in this class. Okay. Ya munada is used when someone is either physically or figuratively far away and you want to bring them close. You say Ya. Like Ya Ali, because you're far away, I want you to come close. I don't, you're good over there, but okay. You say Ya and you call them close. Okay? Anyway. So you can imagine maybe one thing in your head is, she's in the other room and she what? Tells him like, hey dad, come here. Okay, but listen. Ya Abi is the expected language. What's Ab? Father. Abi, my father. Okay? Ya Abi would be normal. That would be dad or my father, come here. That you can kind of translate, think of it that way. Dad, come over here for a second. That's kind of what's happening in Ya Abi. Okay? But she didn't say Ya Abi. What did she say? Ya Abati. Abati is very cute language, I will say first and foremost, okay? You can do these cool things in Arabic where I think it's called tasghir, I think. Like there's Umar, there's Umair. Umair is like little Umar, Umair, little Umar, like that, okay? There's Ya Ibni, and there's Ya Bunay. Oh, my little boy, come here for a second. Go sit on my lap. That's Bunay, okay? Ab is father, Ya Abati, dad. Habibi Baba. Like that's kind of like, that's what's happening. There's necessarily that happening in Ya Abati. So right away, what's kind of the mood that she has is a little bit of like a playful thing, like between father and daughter, right? But she's like being a little bit playful. But anyway, listen what she says. Istajirhu. Hire him. Hire him? Oh, hire him. What do you think she's hinting at here? You tell what is she really say it? What do you think she's hinting at here? She likes him. Right? Yeah, abati. Hire him. You know what I mean? I want you to again pan the camera to your life and imagine you told your father that even more directly, or fine indirectly, Dad, there's this guy at MSA, he gives khutbah and you should come, he's really good. Oh, khutbah. I want you to imagine how that conversation will go down in your household, wallah. I see head shaking. Maybe not very well, potentially not very well, yeah? This is so, I love this, man. I'm having a daughter soon, so I'm really paying attention to this ayah big time. Because you know what's happening here? Well, here, let me finish first, okay? Because she really actually makes a case for hiring him. So like, she's not just, it's a little bit double meaning, but both are there. Listen, she says, she finishes the thought, إِنَّ خَيْرَ مَنْ اسْتَأْجَرْتَ الْقَوِيُّ الْأَمِينُ, which is, again, very on the nose, but she says, no doubt about it, the best person that you can hire is al-qawi. Notice how it's ma'ruf by alif lam, right? It's proper, not common, students, right? Because she could have said, inna khayra man istajarta qawiyyun aminun. The best person you can hire is someone who's strong and someone who's trustworthy. That would be if she said qawiyyun aminun. Someone who's strong, al-qawi al-amin, the strong one. The one who's trustworthy. Which, again, what's she indicating to? Like al-qawi, like that one, you know? It's literally, in Arabic, al-qawi is you're talking about someone specific. Qawi is just some strong guy. Like qawi, you can, by the way, you can think of it as strong, or you can think of it as like they're good at their job. But here, both are true. He's literally like the super muscular guy, and good at his job, and then amin, and trustworthy too. Which is actually, you can say, and this might be relevant to some in the room, and probably for a lot of people in the room actually, especially this side over here. When you're, inshallah, you have your own business and you're hiring people, these are the two things you need to look out for actually. Someone who's qawi and amin. Someone who's good at their job, that they're sharp in their skills, but even more importantly is what actually? That they're trustworthy. Because you can have someone that they're strong at their job, but they're not trustworthy, and do you want that person part of your organization? No, because who knows what they'll do. It's better that you have someone amin and make them qawi. You get someone trustworthy and you train them, for example. But Allah's kind of hinting towards employers a little bit that these are the two things you should look for in an employee. But anyway, back to this girl, because she's more cool. So back to this girl. This girl, first, man, there's so much to say here marriage-wise, so listen to this, okay? First of all, Allah is kind of hinting at this open communication that young women should have with their fathers, first and foremost. Because did she spell out, I like this dude? Did she spell that out? No. By the way, she gets married in the next ayah. So the message gets received. No, the message next ayah gets received. Because listen, I'll go on a little bit. What did he say? Literally, he walks back in the room. There's nothing there. إِنَّ خَيْرَ مَنْ اسْتَأْجَرْتَ الْقَوِيُّ الْأَمِينُ قَالَ إِنِّي أُرِيدُ أَنْ أُنْكِحَكَ إِحْدَى بَنَتَيَّ هَاتَيْنِ. He walks back in the room. No doubt about it. I intend to marry you off to one of my daughters. He's like, hire him. He goes, listen, I have a proposition for you, kid. You see what I mean? And look how he, by the way, says, this honorable father, wallah, I want to marry to one of my two daughters. Did he spell out which one it was? No, because this man's still a stranger. Like, he's not embarrassing her. And this, by the way, might be a hint on like when a woman proposes, it's okay to hide her identity. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay not to spell out who she is, to give qualities, because he knows roundabout which one it might be, but does he know for sure? No. So it might be a little bit of like hinting that the proper way of like offering a woman in terms of like marrying her off is not to spell out who she is necessarily, potentially. That's number one. Number two, what an amazing girl and what an amazing father. Like, he read her. You know what I mean? He got it. He got the hint. Actually, first and foremost, there was no shame. That's actually, I'm going to put that first. First and foremost, there was no shame in what she did. The fact that Allah is telling us this story and not commenting on it is telling us there is no shame in, number one, women proposing, being the one that proposes, and number two, a woman picking who she likes, right? And thirdly, I would say, for a young lady to hint towards her father, like, I like this one, is valid. But you know what that means? What needs to be there if that's the way that this is supposed to go? is that a father and his daughter need to be close enough and vulnerable enough, trustworthy enough to each other, trusted enough towards each other, that when she says this, he gets what he means and doesn't judge her for it. Like, I'll give you back to the khutbah thing, right? Like, you tell your dad, like, oh, there's this guy, like, he volunteers at the masjid, or he works at Chick-fil-A. He's really nice. Your dad should be wise enough to be like, oh, Chick-fil-A boy, huh? Okay, let me check this guy out. And he'll go and order a sandwich. I'm not joking. No, this is I'm being for real. And scope him out. Really. And scope him out. You'll be like, chicken boy, come here. What's your plan? Oh, I work at Chick-fil-A and I'm going to grad. Fine. That's a good thing. And he probes him a little bit for you. That's the idea. That's what this should be. It's such a violation that we don't have this nowadays, wallah. You know? But it's first and foremost that vulnerability between father and daughter that that conversation's supposed to happen. And he's supposed to, without shame, get the hint and help her out. Hook a sister up, essentially. Sorry, but that's kind of what she's saying in between the lines, right? Hire him. Come on, you know? Obviously, that's what she's saying. You know what I mean, subhanAllah? You know an interesting thing here, by the way? The woman technically sent the proposal here, not the man. Actually, if you look at this, long story short, actually, let me just finish up and then I want to make some comments about this, okay? Okay. I want to hire you to one of my two daughters. عَلَىٰ أَن تَأْجُرَنِي ثَمَانِيَ حِجَج. Thank you so much. With the qualification that you work for me for 8 years. You guys know the concept of a mahr? You guys know mahr? Mahr is the dowry, it's called in English, right? The dowry, the bridal gift. This is something that is, again, I won't go into so much detail, it's something so violated in our deen nowadays. The mahr that is what legitimizes a marriage. That is what legitimizes a marriage between a man and a wife. Is that he pays the mahr honestly and fully. And that's her money afterwards, and what she decides to do with her money is her business. That's what the mahr should be. Every Muslim man that got married must pay the mahr in full. We have this weird concept of like, pay half of it, and if you get divorced, pay the other half, and that's filth. That's not what Quran teaches. What Quran teaches is, may Allah forgive us obviously too, but you pay the mahr, and you pay it as quickly as you can. Meaning it's okay to delay, but it should be on top of your mind that you have some sort of payment plan or something that you give her wife her due. Because the only, it's a contract in Islam. Marriage is it's like an agreement. It's a social contract. You must abide by it. Signing a contract in the deen, you guys have, let alone marriage, wallah. Signing a contract in the deen, you have no idea how on Judgment Day, how many people will go to hell because they didn't honor their contract. I don't know how more blunt to be. You have no idea. The more you study Quran, the more you realize that people are sending themselves to the fire because they're not honoring a contract. I don't know how more direct to be. Let alone mithaqan ghalidha. Allah doesn't just call this a mithaq, marriage I'm talking about now. He calls it mithaqan ghalidha, an intense, hard contract. Ghalidh. Ghalidh, what is ghalidh actually? I want to say it gives the idea of a rope. Firm. I might be wrong, what is it?
Firm.
Firm, yeah, but I think it's like, you get the word ghalidh from like a tight rope that it's already tight because it's so many fibers together, and you tie that together and even more firmly tie it, mithaqan ghalidh. Like, you agreed on this pretense to marry this woman, you better pay it. Anyway, this is kind of the mahr for them because he's broke. So this is like don't get the idea of like, oh, the Sahaba, they used to give a date, half a date, and you want 10,000? Shut up and pay the 10,000, dude. Sorry, but whatever you agree on, you have to do it, right? By the way, you know what we're learning here, by the way, is listen. The conversation now is between two men. Who are the two men? Who's talking right now? Sorry, who? Oh yeah, sorry, Musa. I said a Muslim. Like, yeah, I know a Muslim, but who? Musa and who? Yeah, but be more general here. The soon-to-be son-in-law and the father. You understand what I'm saying? Who's absent, actually? Who's absent? Potentially her mom, and absolutely his dad and his mom. Meaning Allah literally reduced this is the only marriage story in the entire book, mind you. So Allah, in the only marriage story, kept only the necessary components for a marriage, subhanAllah, in His wisdom. You know listen, here's what I'm trying to say. The only three parties, I'm not saying leave everyone out, but don't get me wrong, Yani, right? I'm talking legally in the deen, okay? Don't be weird about stuff, but legally in the deen, do you know whose permission you need to get married? Whose dad? Yeah, her dad. Whose dad doesn't need to be involved in giving permission? Your dad. Doesn't matter, actually. Sorry, my bad. My bad. I won't matter too soon, inshallah, so. Oh no, I will. My bad. No, mine I will. You matter too. Sorry. You get the idea. For men in Islam, they're treated as what? Men. You don't need permission. We have in our culture where if you don't get the father, in Arab culture I'm talking about, I'm sorry for leaving everyone else out, but in Arab culture, the father's dad is so involved that he's talking about how great the son is, and he's talking about what the meher should be, and he's setting up the date for marriage, and then they're just playing in the corner with their block somewhere, the two people, apparently, two adults about to get married, apparently. See how foolish that is? Aren't they about to get married like adults? Shouldn't they be behaving like adults? Did she act like an adult so far? Actually, she did. She held her own. She works. She hinted to her dad. Everything was proper. Right or wrong? Musa, the soon-to-be son-in-law, is also acting like an adult. Because who's conversing with the father? He is. There is no, Mama, can you please call them for me because I'm so scared, and what if they say no? Man, shut up and grow up and call yourself, honestly. You know? This is Allah hinting towards men to man up and do the process yourself, actually, a little bit. There's nothing wrong with sending a message on your behalf, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I'm talking about carrying out the process. Do it yourself. Be involved. Don't wait in a corner and wait for your father to figure out for you. Don't do that. If you're old and mature enough to get married, you're old and mature enough to talk to your future father-in-law. So father-in-law is talking to son-in-law is the first thing I want to highlight. So all three necessary components are here. Like, I'm talking absolutely necessary. Her father, well, first and foremost, her and him and her father. Because in Islam, we believe, by the way, that what marriage is in essence is a transfer of wilaya, a transfer of protection. You can say wilaya is kind of like protection, okay? Protective friendship, by the way, of the woman. So she's under the protection of her father, and the father's handing off that responsibility to who? The husband. You are now responsible for, like, her life is your life type of thing. Like, you have to protect her and you have to pay for her, and like, that's now your responsibility to maintain. So if that's the case, why are you not doing the talking, dude? You know what I mean? That's just so weird of us. Like, we just treat, well, like kids like, or adults like children when it comes to this stuff. Anyway, so on the condition you work with me for 8 years, فَإِنْ أَتْمَمْتَ عَشْرًا فَمِنْ عِنْدَكَ. And if you do 10, that's from you. So he's kind of negotiating here a little bit, right? Like, you have to do at least 8, but if you do 10, then that's fine. وَمَا أُرِيدُ أَنْ أَشُقَّ عَلَيْكَ. And I don't want to make things difficult for you. What do we do, by the way, nowadays? How do we make things, what do? We make things very difficult for each other. My daughter is worth $100,000. She's priceless. $2 million. And the girl's like gleaming, and then when the girl goes away, the father's like, it's not real. Like, it's just a put on paper. No, it's not. ميثاق غليظ. No, it has to be real, actually. You can't just do that. It can't be some symbolic gesture. It has to be a real thing. So it has to be something yani ma'ruf. You know what ma'ruf means, by the way, in Islam? I love this. Ma'ruf means something that just is like known by both parties to make sense for the time. Essentially is what's going on. So is it ma'ruf to ask for 100K from someone that just got started a 9 for 5 making 50K a year? Is that ma'ruf? Debatable. At least debatable. Let me be more, okay, because I'm going to leave that to other people. I'm not going to comment on that. I kind of do want to, but I'm not going to. Is it ma'ruf to ask for $500,000 as a meher because your daughter is that special? Is that ma'ruf? From someone that isn't well off, is that ma'ruf? No. Is it ma'ruf for you to say about it, because we do this too, especially quote-unquote religious men. Ma'ruf to be like, well, if you were really religious, you'd ask for less. Is that ma'ruf? No, shame on you. You're not allowed to do that either. That's a shame. The Sahaba asked for a date. The Sahaba were in poverty. So, you live in Orland Park, man, shut up. Like, come on. You know what I mean? You're fine. Get a job and, yeah. Anyway. Is that ma'ruf? No. Ma'ruf is, does it make sense for both parties that this amount is something we can agree to within reasonable, yeah, and who's having that conversation mostly? Father-in-law, son-in-law. Girl is involved too. But who's doing the negotiation, Allah's teaching us? Father-in-law, son-in-law. How does he respond? Think about it. Who's in the position of power right now, by the way? Yeah, the Shaykhun Kabir, the father. Musa alayhi salam was a baller. Because what did he just say? I want you to do 8 years, but if you do 10, that's from you. And وَمَا أُرِيدُ أَنْ أَشُقَّ عَلَيْكَ. I'm not trying to make things hard for you. I didn't finish this part, by the way. ستجدني, forgive me, inshallah min as-salihin. Min as-salihin. You're going to find me among good people. Meaning, I'm not going to make things hard for you. This is what I think is fair. I'm not trying to make things difficult. You're going to find me of the good people, okay? قَالَ ذَلِكَ بَيْنِ Musa's response. So what's the offer? 8 years, but if you want, you can do what? 10 years. Okay. قَالَ ذَلِكَ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَكَ. This is what Musa responds. It's so cool. He keeps things open. This is intelligent. This is intelligent negotiation, by the way. Listen to this. He said, that's between you and me. أَيَّمَا الْأَجَلَيْنِ قَضَيْتُ فَلَا عُدْوَانَ عَلَيْهِ. Either of the two terms that I do, then فَلَا عُدْوَانَ عَلَيْهِ. This is لَا نَافِيَةَ الْجِنس for students here. لَا categorical negation. لَا عُدْوَانَ. Light and nasab, right? You guys remember this, right? Okay. Then there's absolutely no animosity towards me, whatever I do. Meaning, you offered 8 or 10, so I'm going to hold you to that. Meaning, if I do 8, you can't be mad at me. Does that make sense? It's just clear terms. You know what we do, by the way, is the day of the wedding, then they go off to the side and they start fighting about mahr. You know what I mean? Huh? What is it? 40? All right, hold on a second. That's her. No, I'm joking. Okay. Wallahu ala ma naqulu wakil. And Allah is watchful over everything that we just say, everything that we just said. So He negotiated back and they set some sort of limit. Okay? Now, can I tell you what's missing from this story? Bringing culture back into it one more time. Because they did it totally wrong. Everything was wrong. First of all, he married outside of his race, astaghfirullah. He's from Bani Israel and she's an Arab. If I can be so bold, he's a Jew and she's an Arab. He's not a Jew, but you get what I mean? He's working for his in-laws? What a shame. She proposed? You guys see what I'm saying? Allah is like, He's mixing in all of He's making this a unique case so that people for all time can know like there's nothing shameful about any of this stuff. Isn't that beautiful? You know what's interesting about this, by the way? I was joking before, but yeah, they're missing some stuff. They're missing things completely. Like they're doing everything wrong. They have not spent 50 grand on a wedding yet, on the banquet. Astaghfirullah. They didn't even rent a coffee station. No photo booth. Like I get he can't afford to rent the elephant for the rides outside. Fine. Maruf, right? At least rent a horse. Like be a man and go into a little bit of debt. You know, you'll get it back in nukut. Garbage, man. You know, in Islam, the only things you need to get married, and this is going to surprise you, and this is going to start arguments at home, and I hope it does, inshallah. So listen. Here's what you need to get married. Both people need to want to get married. That's first and foremost. Because I told you before, the bearing daughters alive thing, you're not allowed to marry off your daughter. You're not even allowed to even in a sneaky way, because we don't do it forcefully. We don't go and sign the paper. We don't do that. Like we take her hand and she's like, no, and you know what we do? He's the son of a business partner. If you don't marry him, it's going to bring so much shame. It's going to ruin our family. He's not going to want to do business anymore, and you're going to embarrass me forever, and I'll never talk to you again. Did he force you? Did he? No, but what did he do? He big time forced you. He totally forced you. And then that girl will end up in a marriage she does not like, with a man she does not like, let alone love. But love I don't like, at least she's not okay with, at least. Right? And then it leads to resentment. And then it leads to all sorts of nasty stuff, man. Once resentment enters the heart, bad stuff comes afterwards. And then what our community also loves to do, and sorry, I gotta be careful because I'm on camera and I don't know a lot, to be quite honest, but at least culturally I can talk about things confidently. Culturally what we do is we make divorce extremely difficult, especially for you guys. Really, really hard. So we first kind of push women into marriages they don't really want, and then we lock the key and say, you can't come out, actually it's haram. You're not allowed. First of all, it's not. Second of all, that's on her and not on you to decide for her, right or wrong. We have violated. Can I tell you something why I take this so seriously? Wallah, personally, I take this so seriously. Let me finish my thought first. Here's what's absolutely necessary for marriage, Islamically. You guys ready? First of all, at least 40 grand. You need to know, I'm joking. Okay. Here's what you need, okay? Both man and woman need to agree. For example, you know, like arranged marriages in India? Allowed, actually. There's arguments about this. But you know why it's allowed? Because both actually agree to do that. That's fine. You know what I mean? Like, you can't judge them. That's fine. By the way, their marriages mostly last longer than ours anyway, so joke's on you, right? So regardless, you know, because they call it what? Like arranged versus love marriages. You know what I mean? Anyway, whatever. So they both need to consent, if you want to use the word consent. Okay, fine. That's number one. Number two, there needs to be assuming that her father is alive, there needs to be that transfer of wilaya, meaning the father needs to size the guy up, see that it's like a good fit for the daughter, and then you know, do that transfer, so to speak. Thirdly, of four, is a mahr needs to be agreed upon, and fourthly, it needs to be made public. I'm not saying you need to, when I say made public, like we do israf with this, okay? I don't mean rent an nofels and rent an elephant, and you don't need to do all that stuff. I mean made public. Like if you invite two witnesses, by the way, is what you need, okay? So if you invite two witnesses to your house and have coffee, congratulations, you're married. If I can test it to the extreme, I'm sure fuqaha and other people would say like, okay, it has to be certain conditions, but in a nutshell, that's what gets you married. Did we take away from that or add from that? We did both, actually, because we took away mahr, we took away consent, we took away the father-in-law, son-in-law relationship, and we added all this money and this debt. And by the way, I will tell you, that debt that we add on young couples, where like you have to rent this hall, and you have to get these people, and Ibn Ammi is going to embarrass me if I don't invite him and his whole aila and the 10 people in his family, so he has to come too. You know what you're doing when you do that to your kids, wallah? Is you are already causing a rift in their marriage before they're even married. Because that will cause fights like you don't even know, Allah. Like you don't even know. Why does your family always take charge of this stuff? Well, what do you want me to do? That's my dad, that's my mom. She's saying or he's saying. Why don't you stand up for yourself? I'm your husband now. I'm your wife now. And where is this coming from? It's because some of the fathers or mothers that are involved are bickering over which hall to have. What a stupid thing. And even if they just lay down and take it, now he is in debt by tens of thousands of dollars, let alone in the Desi community. Oh my God, do I feel for you guys. Bro. How many parties do you guys have? 3 minimum, right? And that's where like elephant stuff comes in for real, right? You know what I mean? Dude, what are we doing? You're burying him alive at this point, you know? La ilaha illallah, it's crazy. And let me wrap this up. Why do we do that? Let's go to the why. Why do we do that? Is it because it'll help their marriage? Actually, we don't care. We don't give a dang about their marriage. We care about their wedding. Forget the marriage, the wedding. And why do we care about the wedding more than the marriage? Why? Because everyone's watching, bro. Oh, big time. You want to have it at, what's like a banquet hall that's not that, whatever. I can't even think. Or where? Orland Chateau? They don't have filet mignon on the menu, Orland Chateau? Your cousin had it at the Nofos, are going to embarrass me with Orland Chateau? I don't care if he's still working up in his job. You're going to get married in Nofos, he's going to deal with it. I'm not going to get embarrassed like this. What a filthy thing. Wallahi, what a filthy thing to do. What a filthy thing to do. And whose benefit is that to? The so-called parents that are not acting like parents, actually. They're acting like spoiled children. What a filthy thing, wallahi, that we do. I don't allow myself to talk about fiqh, but I'll allow myself to talk about culture. And that's a filthy culture, man. I love my culture very much, but there are things in it that we need to allow Quran to burn it away. And that's why I was so excited to tell you this story. I want to present something, by the way, because I didn't get a chance to actually talk about marriage. I just got a chance to complain about things, so thank you so much. I feel my blood sugar going down a little bit, so thank you so much for that. I want to present to you an opportunity for those of you actually thinking about stuff and not want to listen to some sweaty guy rant for 40 minutes. I feel lightheaded now. But listen, there's actually, subhanAllah, I did not plan this. Like, this is from Allah Straight up, I did not plan this out. It's actually awesome how this worked out. There's actually, this masjid is planning a marriage workshop, 2 days long, going into some real stuff. Like, we talk about real stuff today, but going into like, how does mahr work and how does divorce work, which everyone should know Islamically how divorce works, yes? Everyone needs to go learn that. And I would actually add to that, study it on your own too, because to be honest, I'm quite iffy on how we do divorce even today. I'm not knowledgeable enough to speak on it yet, but I'm not trusting how our community does divorce anymore. And I'm saying it on camera too. I don't think I trust it. I don't know if it's actually like from Quran. I need to study it for myself. But anyway, learn it and learn it on your own. It covers like, you know, how to look for the right person, how to handle a relationship. There's Anna Dahla is a licensed therapist. She's my boss too. And if you don't go, she'll fire me. So please go. No, I'm joking. So she's going to be there. Amani Suleiman, I respect so much, life coach. And then not one, not two, but 3 shuyukh. For the price of one. No, I'm joking. But you should definitely go. It's a 2-day thing. The schedule is going to be posted, I think, soon. If you're interested, there's like a very mild like payment to go for the 2 days. I really recommend, guys, if you want, like, you guys need to learn about marriage before you get married. You have to, please. Please, please, please. Please. It will help you, okay? It will help you in a good situation, it'll help you in a bad situation. So scan the code, I'll leave it up for a little bit. And I really implore that you guys like consider this, inshallah. Or at least ask someone to take notes for you or something. And I think it's a godsend, and subhanAllah, it fits very well with what we did today, alhamdulillah. So anyway, I'm going to end it here. I violated the thing by 10 minutes, but we still have 20 minutes left to talk, inshallah. So let's end this session. Here's what we're going to do right now. We're going to end this session, the lecture part, but with Surah Al-Asr. We're going to close the cameras, right, Adam? Right, Adam? I don't know how to do it by myself. Oh no. Huh? Okay, cool. I don't know what button to push. I'm not that smart. Okay, so we're going to end this session. Then whoever wants to go, you may go. You're totally fine to do so, inshallah. And then I'll give like 2 minutes and we'll start discussion. So we'll start yelling at each other, inshallah, okay? So we'll end this with Al-Asr together. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Allah says, I swear by time that's running out, every individual human being is drowning in loss, except for those who believe and do good deeds and invite each other to the truth and invite each other in patience. May Allah make us of them. I'll see you guys next Tanzeel, inshallah. We're doing the Better Call Saul part. I'll see you guys then, inshallah.